This is a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk. You're listening to the tale of three podcasters walking across Scotland during the 30th anniversary of the RAB TGO Challenge. Part 7.
This podcast is just one from a special series produced from a wealth of recordings made in May 2009 during the 30th anniversary of the RAB TGO Challenge. Recording the event were Andy Howell, Shirley Worrell and me, Bob Cartwright. We were just three of the 360 or so challengers who were walking the unsupported 200 miles from the west to the east coast of Scotland. This was the 30th year of the event, sponsored by RAB and, of course, TGO magazine, who have been behind the challenge ever since its inception in 1980. The framework and principle is totally unique. It isn't a race or competition of any kind. The objective is to foster good fellowship amongst walkers within the framework of a challenging 200-mile expedition. This is a backpacking trip, and everyone carries what they need for the duration, picking up the occasional food parcel along the way. The start consists of a series of sign-out locations on the west coast, anywhere from Torridon in the north down to Ardrishaig in the south. Each challenger, solo, couple or group makes their way via a high route, a low route or the mixture of the two across Scotland to finish anywhere between Arbroath and Fraserburgh on the east coast. There's a set 2-week window to do this in, and each participant submits their route for inspection prior to departure for safety and advice reasons. The places are normally limited to 300. However, on this 30th anniversary, this was increased to 360. Details about the future events, entry forms, past stories and photographs can be found in the October issue of TGO magazine. Plus, in recent years, there's an ever-growing online library of podcasts, diaries and blogs from numerous challengers dotted around the web. Each participant makes the challenge as easy or as hard as they wish. The extremes can be a remote high route, carrying everything you need, navigating your way across wild country, taking in the magic vista which only Scotland can offer, and not seeing another soul for days on end. Or a route taking in the many social meeting places, not camping at all, and using established warm, dry accommodation all the way. Most people do a mixture of the two in different forms, depending on the ever-changing conditions an event like this can throw at you. On this 30th anniversary, 3 of us took audio recorders with us to share our experiences, and those of others we met along the way. Rose and I started from Oban, Andy Howell and his partner Kate from Torridon, and for the first time this year, Shirley Worrell was to give us a solo female perspective, also starting from Torridon. We were all aiming for different finish points on the east coast via completely different routes. And so this is our story.
Well, as you may be able to hear, we've woken to the sort of morning that I've really been expecting to have for the course of the last week. It's very windy, very low dark cloud. I thought I heard earlier a little sprinkling of rain, although to be fair there isn't any at the moment. Anyway, I've been awake intermittently over the course of the last couple of hours. And when I finally stuck my head out and had a look, it seemed pretty clear to me that climbing up the front of Ben Macdui to go and camp at Loch Etcherton really wasn't likely to be a sensible thing to do today. Anyway, a couple of minutes ago, I thought I heard something rustling outside, and as it turns out, it was Colin Ibbotson, who's tarping just across from here. And he and I had both been planning to go up into Ben Macdui, and he'd been having exactly the same idea. I'd been wondering whether we perhaps should think of going straight into Braemar. Sounds like he'd been wondering the same thing. I think discretion is the better part of valour, and that's what we're likely to do. And so anyway, he's taking his tarp down. I've just put on my my damp but nonetheless warmer clothing, and we're going to go into the bothy to have some breakfast. And even as I speak, I do actually now hear the first sharp spattering of rain on the fly sheet, and I'm sure that it's the right thing to do. Okay, so we're going to have some breakfast in the bothy. If we're lucky, we may be able to disturb the ghost. But even if we're not, we have the prospect of Braemar and hot food, and I don't know what else lying ahead of us tonight, and I have to confess that as I speak I feel a big broad grin spreading all across my face. OK, that's it from Shirley for now. I'll speak again later. Well, 6 o'clock in the morning here at Bothy in the Larry Grew, and Colin and I have crept in to escape from the elements and the wind outside, and we're having a chat with Richard and Andy, who, along with Tom and Charlie, have spent the night in the haunted Bothy. Richard, would you like to tell us what it was like to spend the night at the haunted Bothy?
Fairly terrifying.
OK, and do you want to give me a bit of a rundown about some of the terrifying things that took place?
What was the incessant knocking at the door?
OK, and what time did that start?
About 2 in the morning.
OK, and have you any idea what might have been causing that?
It might be wind-related.
Oh, you think it was wind-related? Are you sure it was wind-related, or is it possible that you were just trying to rationalise?
Well, there was a strange cowled figure in the window, but
Really?
we're not sure whether that might have just been a Gore-Tex jacket.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Well, I don't know. I hear people talking about Gore-Tex jackets and wind-related things, but it seems to me it's more likely that it was a cowled figure and some strange creature trying to get into the Bothy.
I might have to leave the body now.
Oh, really? Permanently?
Feeling a bit scared.
Too frightened to come back?
Yeah.
Well, see, Challengers, that's pretty impressive stuff, it seems to me. It's all pretty unequivocal. It's not only Richard and Andy who spent the night in the Bothy. There's a couple of other people who are not crazy enough to be challengers. Charlie and Tom, who are also here. This is Charlie here.
Hi.
Hi, Charlie. Can you tell us what it is that you've been up to?
Yeah, we've just been bagging a couple of the Cairn Gorms over the past few days.
Okay.
Had some fairly crazy hikes. We did down the back of Cairn Gorm on Wednesday night. Sorry.
Right.
That was quite scary in the dark. Kind of missed a turn and ended up a little bit stuck on the cliffs.
What was the weather like up there?
It was really nice and calm, fortunately enough. Yesterday the wind got up really quite high on the top of Ben Vedwin, but seemed to be really nice sort of above that. We got up onto the top of Ben McDooey and managed to get a really rare day of complete clarity off the top, so it was a fantastic view off the top there.
Did you see any signs of the big grey man when you were on the top of Ben McDooey yesterday?
Well, no, but I saw a big red man, and it happened to be Tom in his new jacket.
Well, so it's possible that Tom might have been mistaken in the past for the big grey man.
Well, yeah, he's a fairly leery figure at the best of times.
Okay.
I can only say that because he's still asleep.
Okay, well, we won't let on that you said that. So, well, I think when a bunch of us spoke yesterday, we at least were thinking of going onto the top of Ben McDooey today, but we decided not to since the weather's closed and it's all pretty disgusting.
Yeah,
so, any idea what you and Tom are likely to be doing today?
Well, the plan was to do the south side of the Larragrew, over the ridge to Braemar. Unfortunately, I have the knees of a 90-year-old now.
Right.
So I think the escape route's going to be through the Larragrew.
Right, down towards Braemar?
No, we're going back up towards Cairngorm.
Oh, okay, all right.
To pick up that nice warm car that's parked there.
Ah, okay, so you'll be off home tonight?
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, thank you very much indeed for chatting with us.
Thank you very much.
And I mean, did you see anything scary in the Bothy last night, or did you?
I didn't, but I was very, very tired.
Right. Okay. Maybe you were sleeping a sort of drugged sleep induced by the presence of nasty sort of cowled figures standing in the window.
Yeah, maybe. I think he slipped something in my cup of tea.
Well,
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, thank you very much indeed for that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, well, that's that from us for now. So, as I say, it's about 6 o'clock, so I suppose that I'm finishing my hot chocolate. We'll finish the hot chocolate. I'll go and put my tent away. John's still outside in his tent. And then Colin and I, possibly John as well, and maybe even Richard and Andy, will set off down the Larragrew towards Braemar. And hopefully, well, I'm not sure quite what time we'll get there this afternoon, but I'm sure that I'll be sitting down to fish and chips, and after that, at least 1 pint of beer.
(8 a.m) on Friday the 15th of May, and we find ourselves now down at the end of Glen Feshie, just before White Bridge, where we pitched up last night about a very respectable 5 o'clock-ish.
6.
Well, it's even more respectable than at 8 and 9 o'clock, wasn't it? But it's still a respectably early finish after a sort of a bit of a odd start to the day, which, as we explained, meant that we're not over the other side of the Cairngorm Plateau at the moment, and we're not meeting up with friends at Loch Etcherton beneath Ben Macdui as initially planned. But that's the way of the challenge. That's the way that you have to make decisions based on weather. Although it was a beautiful day on all counts, or most counts yesterday, the wind was definitely pretty tough, and we all figured that on the top would be pretty
Hairy.
Hairy, yeah. We met a couple of other people as well who had also made exactly the same decision based on going some of the way up various peaks and deciding that discretion was indeed the better part of valour. Now, Beth leaves us tomorrow or the day after. Having missed a lift in Dalwhinnie, we're getting rid of her in Braemar.
Thank God, you're saying.
And I think it would be interesting just to spend a few moments just to get a young person's perspective on the trip that perhaps wouldn't necessarily have considered this as some sort of holiday option or a break. To see what her thoughts. We've all had our ups and downs, and she, like everyone doing it the first time, has had her fair share. So, Beth, this is your last wild camp now. We're into Braemar campsite, hopefully tonight or this afternoon, probably. Any lasting thoughts you're going to take away with you?
I know what it's called, a challenge. I think because obviously you guys have been doing this for 5 years, really, and I never really saw it as so hard. Obviously there's some fantastic points, but it's definitely a challenge. I think we were speaking to some people at the bothy yesterday, saying that it is a challenge physically and mentally. There are really hard times, and you have to get your head down and just trudge onwards. And the camaraderie that you meet when you meet other challengers along the way, other challengers. I mean, that they kind of pull you through. When I had my fall, David was there with his arnica helping me out with my bruised wrist, and just with words of advice and stuff with kit. I think that's probably what makes it. It reminds me when I did 10 tours, is that kind of camaraderie. You're yeah, keep going, do this. This is a really good route. Try that. And just chatting to people in general, meeting people from different walks of life, which is, I suppose, is the overall appeal. But I have to say, I'm actually looking forward to going back to revise at uni.
That's not something you hear very often. And do you think then that we've been fair with our stories when we've come back and told you about the challenge and what it's been like and the people we've met? And do you understand it more now, the sort of concept behind it, as opposed to being a hardcore competition, a straightforward sort of social stroke walking event? Yeah,
I mean, I suppose all the stories that you come back with are when you've had the distance from it and you do remember the good times. I've heard a lot of good stories, and I haven't heard so many of the trudge on, head down to the wind, can't really feel my feet, don't really want to think about it. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, Mum and I think you've done brilliantly well. It certainly isn't easy, and we met one or two other first timers that have been struggling, and you've been stood head and shoulders next to them, no problem at all. It's a shame you're not actually sort of finishing it all the way through, and you're actually not on the list, as it were. But I'm really pleased you've joined us for a few days. You've also done the right thing, I think, and listened to some of the advice that we've told you and a few other people have told you about kit and that sort of stuff, and you've kept the weight very, very sensible. I think if you'd had much heavier weight, it would have been harder. You've seen some of the packs people are carrying.
Yeah, definitely. Some of them are well over their heads, whereas ours are quite compact. I think I've got to say the boots I bought beforehand, because my old boots were very much falling apart. So me and Mum went shopping, and there were some really pretty blue ones, which I really wanted. Mum was like, you need something more lightweight. So we went for the light, I think it's light ones, which were brown, not quite as pretty as the blue ones, but were actually, they are fantastic. I can't rate them enough, because to wear them for 7 days-ish, I guess it's been now, and only get minor blisters and obviously you're going to get sore feet because you are walking a good distance. But beforehand, like 10 tours, D&V, I have been in so much agony with blisters. So they have been fantastic. The poles, I was so dubious, but they have been amazing as well. And just actually the wind shirts, they're like, I tend to get quite hot when I'm walking, so just a bionic tee and then a wind shirt does the job, and they're really good as well.
But it's the silly little things, isn't it? It makes life pleasurable, like these, they're not Crocs, but they're Croc copies. They make camp life so much more comfortable than crossing rivers, don't they?
Oh gosh, yes, they're really good. Like when we were going to Glenfeshie last night, and it got to about 9 o'clock, and we had this river, and the bothy was on the other side, so you'd have to go all the way down to the bridge to get to it. But me and Mum put our Crocs on and literally just waded across. It was so much simpler.
And there's those 4 guys that we passed who were throwing a pair of waders across the river to each other, and they're taking it one at a time. And we saw them in the distance. We caught them up. We crossed the river, and they were still crossing the river when we left them. Sleeping gear. You slept comfortably. You've had the Go Light sleeping bag and the usual sort of Thermarest Pro Light mat. You been comfortable at night?
Ish.
Yeah.
I mean, as comfortable as camping goes, I guess. I think I found. I'm a big fan of the rad bags, and so having the Go Light one, it's got a zip on the chest because I tend to sleep mostly on my back, and I've actually found that area is really chilled. So I've been putting my down jacket over the top. So as soon as I did that, I felt a lot warmer. But until then, I did feel quite chilled. So I'm not 100% sold on that bag. But Sleeping Max kind of just does the job. Easy to pack and everything else. So.
And there's certainly been frustrations pitching the laser competition tents, but between us we've managed to get it looking decent and fairly taut each evening. Has there been enough space in there for you? How tall are you?
I'm about 5'7" ish, so I'm on the tall side, and I like space, to be honest. I find it really hard to duck in and duck out, and cooking especially. I'm not 100% confident on in a tent, so I've got more confident in doing that. But for me personally, I'd want something a little bit bigger, just for the extra few hundred grams. But it has been good on the lightweight side, because obviously I've been carrying it by myself, so like that is fantastic.
You've been completely independent from that point of view. Yeah. Well, as you can hear, the weather isn't still sunny and blue skies. We're sort of dawdling here over our coffee and tea, trying to decide or gain the enthusiasm to get up and start walking in the rain towards Braemar. But at least it's a fairly easy walk down the road. It'll just be a bit laborious, and as Beth says, head down against the wind, against the rain, until we get in and then hopefully dry out a bit and decide what we're going to do. We are booked into the campsite, but not until tomorrow night, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of space should we decide to stay there tonight, or there's always the bunkhouse and there's always the youth hostel. Rose, you got any thoughts?
It's raining. And it's our anniversary today.
It is indeed our wedding anniversary, and let's think now, how long is it?
Don't say.
Long enough to still be happy.
Indeed. In fact, Bob brought me a card which was based on navigational theme, and I bought him one based on food, so that tells you everything about the challenge, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, we'll, I suppose, have to sort ourselves out now and start packing up. So we'll catch up a bit later on and hopefully start bumping into some friends and familiar faces when we get down to Braemar and seeing how their trip's been.
It's 10:25. I left Cwbl Bothy this morning at just after 7 with Colin and John, and we made pretty good time down through the Larrigou. We've been through the grounds of our lodge, and we're now on the road to Braemar. We hope that in about 30 minutes or so we're going to be there. I don't know how long this weather is likely to last. It really is pretty horrible. Low cloud, rain. Some of the rain's been quite heavy, and some of it's actually sneaked in through my Paramo waterproofs, which is always a little disconcerting, but of course it's dried out again now. Anyway, so there'll be some kind of update from Braemar. The current plan is to get in, and all in the spirit of drying out, we feel it may be necessary for us to go along to the pub and buy some sort of alcoholic beverage, just in order to enable us to dry our clothing. And I'm hoping that I might be able to find a cafe doing chip bothies for breakfast, although of course it'll be more like lunchtime at that stage. Anyway, that's that for now. Speak again later. Bye.
Saturday morning, the 16th of May, and it finds us in the Braemar Youth Hostel, drying out and fairly well rested after a good night's sleep. Friday was dreary and miserable, I suppose is the best way of describing it. We started off in the morning, it was just overcast and that sort of continuous drizzle and misery, and you just have your head down and keep going. Low cloud. Didn't really see anybody, and continued on from where we were camped just before White Bridge down to where the track joins the main road, and you normally bear right over the bridge and head towards Braemar. However, at that particular point we were picking up signs stapled to posts from the Mar Lodge estate, inviting us in for free teas and coffees for all challengers. So we chose the left-hand side of the road, and we continued our way for a few miles down to the Mar Lodge estate main house, which is a magnificent building, apparently built for Queen Victoria's granddaughter, I think I'm correct in saying. And sure enough, we were invited round to the tradesman's entrance round the back, and we were given free teas and coffees and had a chat with a few other challengers who were coming through. There was a group of mad Italians. I say mad, you'd understand that if you saw the wet weather gear they were wearing. I thought there was been a shipwreck. They were sort of wearing sou'westers complete with the yellow hats and so on. And Val was there, and there were 2 or 3 other challengers whose name I just slipped my mind for a moment. And we had some teas and coffees there, stopped for a while. They were doing, just for future reference for people listening to this, the Mar Lodge were doing accommodation for £15 and a bed, breakfast and a venison evening meal, which apparently is absolutely superb, was only £22 a head. And the people who were staying there, the Italians were staying there, and Val was staying, I believe, were saying that the rooms are absolutely wonderful. Egyptian cotton linen and, fires and beautiful building and wonderful rooms and really soft beds and the usual sort of thing that makes you think, is it really worth battling on in the rain to get to Braemar campsite? Anyway, it was really worth battling on because it was sort of midday, and it's a case, well, if we stop now, what are we going to do for the rest of the day? So we continued on down to Braemar, and thankfully when you come over the bridge there from the Mar Lodge estate, it does tend to sort of chop the road almost in half, and it wasn't too long before we got to the Five Farms and met up with some familiar faces. Interestingly, Braemar wasn't brimming as I thought it would have been with challengers in the miserable weather, as it were, who'd got here early. We certainly met up with Andy and Kate and Shirley and Colin and John. Who else? Humphrey. Yeah, Humphrey was there as well. Phil. And that was about the group that was sort of be hovering around the Five Farms, had a few drinks in there. But Beth was leaving us and catching the bus on Sunday morning, and we had a few wet things, so we thought we would skip the campsite and go to the youth hostel. So that's where we are for a rest day today, Saturday, and seeing Beth off tomorrow morning, and we're then heading off to the Balmoral estate up to Localita Lodge on Sunday. So I'm fully expecting to start to see a few more familiar faces today for the Saturday night bash. I believe, actually, although the Five Farms is a gathering place, there is a pub just up the road. I think somebody called it, begins with M, something like the Mile Bank or whatever. I'll catch that a bit later. Who are putting on a ceilidh tonight, or a rock and roll band or something. And apparently the real ale's really good. And I spoke to Chris last night, who's been for a meal there, and he said it was brilliant. So we're looking forward to that as entertainment. It's currently 8 o'clock in the morning, and we've sort of sorted our rooms out and bits and bobs. The girls have gone into the girls' dorm, and I'm in the guys' dorm. and just basically sorting our bits out, getting the washing sorted, usual sort of domestic chores really, to freshen ourselves up for the last few days. Now, sadly, the weather forecast for the last few days is terrible. A combination of heavy rain or light rain, depending on which day you look at it. So I think we're going to have a fairly soggy finish, which will be a great shame. But Scotland's typical for changeable weather, so you never know what could happen over the next few days. So I'm going to spend today basically meandering around town, perhaps see if I can catch up with a few people, see how the trip's been, and possibly, if possible, try and meet a few of the local shop owners, perhaps a cafe owner or two, and see what the thoughts are on actually living in a place like Braemar on a full-time basis, and if the challenges when they come through make really that much difference to them, because there's been a few comments on the forums that Braemar should make more of us and don't, and to see whether we actually form a very, very small, insignificant part of their annual income. That'll be an interesting conversation. Anyway, so on that note, I'll leave this and I shall go walkabout, I think. As the rain continued to fall outside, there were a good handful of challengers using the YHA facilities to dry their soggy gear, rest a while and drink copious amounts of tea, before heading off to meet others down at the Fife Arms. Later in the day, I did manage to speak with hostel managers Alistair and Sarah Hubbard, who have been at the Braemar YHA for quite a while. However, this was after another trip to the kitchen and a cup of tea with Alan MacDonald, Martin and Mike Gillespie.
We set off last Saturday from Glenelg, the three of us. Obviously the three of us are travelling together. Like, these guys have actually arranged the full trip, so I've been fortunate enough just to tail along with them, and it's been excellent so far. No complaints apart from a pack load, but that's something we are going to discuss. So yeah, I'm pleased the way things are going on.
Excellent. So if you started on the Saturday, then you only had sort of one day or half a day of sort of fairly miserable weather, and you've been lucky for the rest of the time.
We travelled up on the Friday, and that was totally abysmal. But like you say, Saturday was heavy showers, but yeah, we plodded on. We got through it all, so it's been fine. And like you say, apart from yesterday, which was absolutely horrendous, it's been fine. So just say no complaints.
The weather obviously took a turn for the better on the Sunday and a few days afterwards. Tell me about your route after that.
Our route after that, we went across from Glenelg to Kinlochurn, then we went from Kinlochurn to Tomdown, stayed there overnight at Tomdown, and then from Tomdown to Inverlochy and stayed overnight there. There was quite a bit of road work, so in the heat I think that paid for my feet.
So you're the one suffering today and having a good rest day to try and look after your feet?
Yes, trying to heal the blisters.
So, I mean, just to give people a sort of something to think about in the future, obviously there was the heat, but were you carrying a lot of weight? Did you have sort of tight-fitting boots? Anything that sort of caused the problem?
I think perhaps I had changed to a lighter sock from my normal socks, and I don't know whether that was a contributing factor, plus the load. You're not used to carrying the heavier load. And
it was leather boots or fabric boots? Or
leather boots, but with an event liner, so that does generate extra heat.
Yeah. So really then the combination of the road work and the extra weight and obviously the heat your feet must have been giving off just softened the skin up and caused you a few problems?
Yes. Yeah, that's...
And then I understand you used Compeed, and that exacerbated the problems?
Yes, I did. I used Compeed and I ended up with blisters under the blisters, which was rather painful.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice day to be relaxing today. So apart from sitting here staring out at the sunshine, well, hoping the sunshine's going to come through the window, and possibly I've just seen, actually, just a few moments ago, a red squirrel. I've never seen a red squirrel before, so the wildlife here is wonderful. How do you plan to spend today?
Resting, washing our gear, and hopefully going into town, Braemar, and have a few beers. Yeah. And meet some more of the TGOs and hear their stories, hopefully.
Well, I think a few more people will be coming through tonight, hopefully, and I gather there's a function on in town somewhere where we've been invited to collectively.
There's a Keeley on tonight. There's a Keeley, hopefully we're going to take part in that and enjoy the evening, hopefully.
So you're going to be doing much dancing tonight?
Yeah, I won't be dancing, but I'll enjoy the Keeley just the same.
Yeah. And so from here, what's the route?
Well, again, you would need to check with these guys, but I think we're heading on to, is it Clover tomorrow? So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that one as well. It's, all these, this area, I love climbed hills here, and for here to Clover, it's a new experience for me. So, like I said, I'm looking forward to the full thing.
Do you guys get up to this area at all from home at all during the rest of the year?
Yes, we're up quite a bit, mainly, again, for the hills, as Brian says. We do a fair bit of Munro bashing and Corbett bashing.
Yeah, yeah. And have you been up during the winter weather?
I've been up in January doing the Munros. Stayed in Invercalled Arms Hotel. That was great. 2 nights there. It was really good. There was a lot of snow. Doing the Munamore and a few other Munros.
Have you found the general welcome for yourselves and the TGOs and the route that you've taken? What was it like at Tom Doon? Because they've had a bit of an iffy reputation over the years.
The welcome was fine this time.
Yeah.
Mike was very good, and food was good. Wee bit expensive, but good.
Yeah. Is he still doing the seafood platter?
Yes, he's still doing his seafood. And what was it we had? The venison?
Well, venison and lamb, which is tasty, but I think you had to wait quite a while on yours. I think there was a mistake with one of the orders, and I think they had actually finished their meals, and Mike got his at the tail end, but he did make up for it. I mean, I think he knocked it off your bill, so it wasn't so bad.
He was very apologetic. You know.
Yeah. Was the bunkhouse still open?
No, the bunkhouse has been vandalised, I believe.
Oh no!
So he only had rooms in the hotel.
Using that as a kennel where there was a bunkhouse where I stayed before. It was like fenced, wired off, and there's like dogs in there now. Yeah. Using it as kennel.
Oh, that's a shame. Right then, chaps. Well, I take it you're all heading towards Tarfside, are you?
Yes. Yes.
Hesitation.
Yes. We will be. I always like to call in the ladies at Tarfside.
Yeah.
It's always a very warm welcome.
Indeed.
And it's a very comfortable place.
We stayed there overnight the last time. We were lucky to get a bunk, so we stayed. It was quite comfortable and well looked after.
Yeah. No, they're nice, lovely ladies. You say very warm welcome. Well, I hope you enjoy your day's rest like us. We'll probably be sharing it with you and down at the Five Farms, if nothing else.
Yes.
And I'll see you on the dance floor tonight, as it were.
Yeah, she'll be murdered on the dance floor as the song goes.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Right. Well, many thanks then, guys.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Since February 1997. Yep.
And why have you stayed here this long?
A number of reasons. It's a great location. We love the outdoors, and Braemar is in the centre of the Cairngorms, the national park. Fantastic scenery, lots to do on your doorstep, and there's a great community as well, which is important to us. We've got 3 young children, so all those things come together to make an ideal place for us to stay.
Now, I'm guessing that you didn't have the children when you took on the hostel, so...
No.
Was it...
It was the next year. We had the first one. Yeah. 2 years later had another, and 2 years later had another.
No wonder people, when they come through, say, you're always pregnant.
They do, that's right. Weren't you fat last time I came here?
So, from obviously you've got yourself well established in the community with children here as well, and the youth hostel, I suppose, it is a business, and you're managing the business in this area. How have things changed over the last few years? I mean, things must have changed.
For the organisation?
Yeah, yes, from your point of view, from the organisation.
Well, the SYHA, I think, has become... try to be more proactive to people's needs rather than reactive. So we're trying to look ahead and see what the customers want, and trying to meet their demands and expectations, and perhaps go beyond that as well. So from that point of view, there's been a number of changes and improvements, I must say, and I think the customers are seeing those coming through and appreciating them.
We were having a conversation earlier on, and we were talking about the change in the actual managers of the hostels, and how things have changed over the last 15 or 20 years, and as you say, reacting to the customer demand. The changes in people, obviously, how they access youth hostels, because it always used to be self-powered transport, and obviously now people presumably use cars and bikes and vans. We just had a van load of D.V. children arrive. Has that changed the way that they leave here to go and do their activities? Rather than using this as a base, they're actually sort of travelling further away from here?
I think perhaps Braemar is a bit more unique in our general customers we have want to stay within the locality for the major part of the year. In the summer months, July and August, we have a lot of international visitors, and they tend to be touring, so they might use Braemar as a base to visit further afield. But I'd say the bulk of our customers we have here are interested in the locality and what it has to offer.
And that's really what I'm interested in, particularly, because obviously the TGO challenge, we're 200 or 300 people that are coming through, probably a good 100 or so you can probably see and use your facilities, but we only ever see a snapshot of any area we pass through in many respects, although a lot of people live in this area or live in Scotland, shall we say, or have access to Scotland. But it often crosses our minds when we have the conversations on the forums and so on, what it's actually like to live in the area as part of the community, because we see it bustling because we're all here.
Yeah.
But normally this time of year, how busy is it?
Well, sort of from Easter onwards, you get a lot of hill walkers coming in, cyclists. So for Easter onwards, we're really quite busy. The whole village is a bed and breakfast as well, guest houses. But I work in the local school as well, so I'm to see both sides of it. So yeah, I work mornings only as a nursery nurse in the local school, and do a few shifts here.
Because I think we said, or you mentioned earlier on, that a lot of the properties, was it 60% of it is second homes?
I think you go anywhere in the UK into a rural community or somewhere that has a lot of attractions, whether it be scenic or opportunities to enjoy the outdoors, and there unfortunately will be a lot of second and holiday homes, and I think that's a modern, well, something that's just happening across the UK, and Braemar, it's happening here as well. So it has some negative impacts on the community, you can't deny that, but there are some positive as well. But as a community that is living here year round, Braemar has a very strong community, and there's a lot of activities and things that the locals get involved in and try and try and push, both for the visitors and for the folk who live here year round. An example of that would be the Braemar Castle, which is now run by the community, and there's volunteers who provide guided tours. There's other volunteers who helped with the decoration or refurbishment. Others perhaps with the publicity. So it's pulling together talents that there are in the community and making the most of them, and really letting visitors and the wider public share in that kind of heritage and history that we have here.
I mean, tell me a bit more about the castle, because obviously conversation we had earlier on, we were talking about there are actually a lot of local low-level walks, safe walks, as it were, sort of tourist walks, should we say, rather than sort of Munro-type walks. And the castle obviously isn't in the village itself, which is actually possibly a bit of a double-edged sword, in the sense that once people leave, you want to get them to come back as well. But as an attraction, what does the castle have to offer?
Different stages in time. You can go back and you can tour around all the rooms, and the guides are extremely knowledgeable. They can describe, what happened in each room, and like at one time it was a garrison, and you can see the original graffiti on the walls. Yes, carved into the walls. 17 something it says on the wall. But there are grand plans to make it into an educational place to come, and school groups can come and learn.
So if anybody coming through, I mean, certainly challengers coming through, how far away is it and where is it from?
Well, the youth hostel is based at the southern edge of the village, and the Braemar Castle is about 1 kilometre to the north on the road out towards Aberdeen. So walking distance, definitely for challengers.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I was talking to a couple of local shop owners today, and they were saying that the coach companies which now own the hotels, and the way that they've been running the hotels has changed a lot of the, shall we say, approach that visitors have to the area, in the sense that the age range and their abilities, they don't tend to actually venture out of the hotel at all and use some of the local facilities and the shops and so on. Obviously not your services so much, but certainly the other aspects of that Braemar has to offer. Is there? I mean, what other business comes through? As a matter of interest, what other business comes through the village that keeps the smaller businesses going?
Well, like you say, the hotels do cater for the older market, and it's coach tours. So that's obviously the business model that works for those large hotels in a Highland community. But that's not to say there aren't a lot of other people who like to visit Braemar, families that we provide facilities and cater for, and a lot of independent travellers who perhaps like to stay in the bed and breakfast and guest houses and at the hostel as well. And then there's a caravan and campsite. So really, for a small community, we can cater for the broad range of tourists. But so yeah, something for everyone, definitely in Braemar.
Do you find that with the sort of current financial climate and people a bit concerned about what their intentions might be from a holiday point of view this year, have you noticed from your own figures if things have improved or gone down, or your advance bookings, have they increased at all?
Well, it's interesting because there's kind of winners and losers from this, and I think for foreign visitors, we're definitely seeing an increase in advance bookings because of the weak pound. I think the domestic market is interesting. I think people are perhaps going to leave it a bit later to book, and so that side has been down a bit for us. But we're just coming into the middle of May, and we can definitely feel business picking up now. So it's been a slow start to the year, but we're quite positive that it will improve.
And do you think that's a comment that runs true for the rest of the village as well?
I think so, yes. Speaking to other folk who've got provide accommodation in the village and the shops, it's perhaps been a bit slower to start off with, but it seems to be picking up now. So yeah, we're all quite positive about what the summer might bring.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we read the paper and it says the long-term weather forecast looks fabulous for Scotland. So hopefully you'll be having a fantastic run.
It's always sunny here.
It's always, yeah. It's just a figment of people's imagination. And finally, just a final question: is it possible to sum up how the challengers, the group of people that come through on this event, how they're viewed by Braemar? Because there's been a few comments on some of the forums relating to the challengers that sometimes it's probably the reception they tend to get at the Five Arms, to be honest. But that perhaps we aren't as welcoming. Although I have to say, this time obviously we had your posters on the road. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And we had posters from the Mile Large as well. So is there a general feeling that we are a good income to the area at all?
Well, I think so. I think it's a really positive thing. It's like people know it's going to be a busy weekend, and there's always. Well, I think it's going to happen every year now. It happened the first time last year. The party up at the Moorfield. Our local band Bingo Wings are playing, so that should be good. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good night out because the visitors can mix with the local community, and a good night out for all. So
we're not seen as a messy, smelly crowd coming through then?
Not at all. No. We have plenty of hot showers here. So.
I think especially with the new kind of smart wool fabrics we're getting through, it's definitely made an improvement over.
That's a great question. Have you noticed that over the years that people coming through wearing different clothes? Is the smell different?
I haven't noticed anybody smelly, so it could be that.
Definitely with wool based I think garments, it definitely has been. Yes, less smell in our drying room than previous years.
Excellent. So. Well, non-smelly challengers are always welcome.
Always welcome here, yes.
Join us next time as the journey across Scotland continues on the 30th Anniversary TGO Challenge 2009. Find out how easy it is to subscribe to all our free programmes. Visit our website at theoutdoorstation.co.uk or look us up on Facebook.